Welcome to another episode of Chemistry to Your Ears, the podcast from the European Young Chemists Network, or EYCN for short. In this episode, it is our great pleasure to welcome Professor Martin Putala from the Faculty of Natural Sciences at the Comenius University in Bratislava. There, he is professor of the Laboratory of Organic Optoelectronic Materials, and while he is doing incredibly interesting work there, which would be worth a podcast episode of its own, we are not here to talk about that today. Instead, what our host Desiree talks about with him today is his exciting engagement in organizing the International Chemistry Olympiads, and how these inspire the next generation of chemists and STEM scientists. Enjoy!
Welcome everyone to our next EYCN podcast episode. Today we have the pleasure of having Martin Putala from Slovakia with us today. He will be talking about the Chemistry Olympiad, where he has been heavily involved in. Thank you, Martin, for joining us today. Maybe also could you quickly introduce yourself, what you are doing, and how this relates to your experience in the Chemistry Olympiads?
Hello to everyone. I'm Martin Putala. As was said, I'm a professor of organic chemistry. Currently, I'm head of Department of Organic Chemistry at Faculty of Natural Sciences, Comenius University in Bratislava, in Slovakia, so the largest and maybe best performing university in Slovakia. I also had a small research group where we develop novel transformation in organic chemistry, in particular formation of carbon-carbon bonds to construct oligoaryl systems, and especially by environmentally sustainable CH activation reactions. So those are interesting because they do not require modification of starting compounds, so they're more green or more clear. And these oligoaryl compounds are applicable for instance, in organic electronics, so we cooperate with electrical engineers which construct transistors or OLEDs out of them. But besides it, I'm leading Slovak Committee on Chemistry Olympiad, and I'm also representing Slovakia for International Chemistry Olympiad.
Thank you, Martin. How did you first get in touch with the Chemistry Olympiad? What was like your first contact?
My first contact was via my very good teacher of chemistry at primary school. So I started to solve the problems of Chemistry Olympiad already at primary school. And then it, of course, developed through my secondary education, through my study on gymnasium. And I also was honored to represent, so I qualified to represent Slovakia at International Chemistry Olympiad as a student. However, it was quite a long time ago in 1993. And at that IChO, I was awarded by silver medal.
Wow, this is kind of impressive, especially having chemistry already at primary school. I don't know a lot of countries where this is actually the case, that you get in touch with chemistry this early, which is very surprising.
So it was 8th class of school, if you still call it primary school.
I think depends on the system. At least in Switzerland, this would be secondary school, but still you don't have chemistry. You start having chemistry 10th grade. So it's still quite early, I would say, but it depends on the country. That's true. You said that has been a long time ago. What actually keeps you engaged with the Chemistry Olympiad? What makes it so compelling for you?
It's really enjoyable to spark young, talented people, to help them to develop their interest. This is main pleasure which comes out of it. Despite that, there's also some duties connected with that. But I think for the endeavor of young people, it's really worth to do it, even if it's not paid.
True. You have worked with students at different stages, so locally in the Slovakian Olympiads, but then also, as you said, you're representing Slovakia on the International Chemistry Olympiad. How does this work build over and also evolve over time, and also the relationships that you generate with these students?
We, as a mentors for International Chemistry Olympiad, we really develop connections or relations with our students, because at IChO, students are of the most time separated from mentors to keep the competition tasks secret. But as we participate on preparation of our students for IChO, it really helps to build nice contact with them. And it's real pleasure if they then come to study, for instance, at our university. For instance, as you mentioned, Professor Juricek, who is now professor at University of Zurich, it's a former Olympiad student, but he came to study at our university and joined my research group, did excellent research also during his university studies, and of course then continued in his career abroad. Or we have some other example that, for instance, our former Olympiad student, this is Dr. Majek, who studied abroad. He did some postdoctoral stays in US and in Germany, and then come back, and now he was awarded a starting grant of European Research Council, which is really prestigious, and he does it at our department. So there is also such nice benefit also to our research or to our university.
Well, this is also very interesting that you keep these relationships going over such a long time, because the competition is for high school students and then they go all their way and eventually return as potential professors or maybe also in industry, etc. So this is really like spanning over a decade probably. Do you see any changes in this, how it was when you started in your Chemistry Olympiad to nowadays with how it's going in the Olympiads, maybe also changes within the Olympiad itself?
The task for Chemistry Olympiad become more and more challenging, and I think it's not really the best way how they develop, because at the moment they are in general of the level of knowledge which is required from students which pass bachelor stage of study, and in some respects also even for master students specialized to some chemistry. So the students which participated IChO, they're expected to really have deep knowledge. Maybe the task would be better to develop more in the direction of creativity, not that much of real practical knowledge. So we still have ongoing discussion in jury at International Chemistry Olympiad, how to really keep it really accessible to the students and to really support creativity and not just the mechanical calculations in the way that it really develops the abilities of the students. And concerning development, at my stage, we have printed tasks on manual printing machines. Now the tasks are on computers, so it's not even necessary to print them, or there is a development. Before we spend just a night before competition to translate the tasks, and now we have help of translation tools which makes these things more effective, and we can more focus on real problems than to mechanical translations. But if you have mentioned the relations or contacts, and also for mentors and as well for students, the IChO is really exceptional event when you meet people from nowadays 90 countries, and it's real passion to communicate with so many motivated people, and this is maybe the main spirit of such international competition. And there was a little bit difficult time during COVID pandemics where this was not possible. And I have to be honest, I almost lost my motivation for Chemistry Olympiad. And it was also a little bit difficult to motivate students because they missed the first experimental, which is really crucial for chemistry, and they missed a possibility to meet other people from other countries and have these enjoyable contacts. We at least managed during this time to make a special event together with delegation of Czech Republic, that we at least make a common campus of two countries and to at least in this way enjoy the IChO event in these hard times.
Yeah, I can really imagine that COVID kind of was not so nice for this setting. I've experienced an International Chemistry Olympiad myself, the last one that was in Zurich, where I helped, and I could really see that meeting those different people from different countries and different cultures really meant a lot to all of the participants, and that this was difficult for probably 2 years because of COVID is very understandable. You already touched a little bit on my next question. Given your long-standing involvement in the International Chemistry Olympiad, did you observe trends in how students approach the problems? Did this change over the years? And how do you think the competition could help prepare future chemists to tackle real-world problems such as climate change, etc.?
Each year, tasks of International Chemistry Olympiad have different mottos. It's always a question of organizing country. So usually these tasks want also to present the chemical background in a particular country. So, for instance, to some special natural substances which can be found in this country or some other relations to chemistry. But what is most important that these tasks support creativity of the students, understanding of the chemical problems. So even if they are not directly oriented towards an environment, etc., but prepare students to be able then solve the problems. So really develop them in the way that they are already able to solve practical problems, and we see it when they come to study at the university that they do not have to spend so much time to learn chemistry because they already almost know it at university level. Maybe they can fill in some gaps in the knowledge and abilities, but they have already time or freedom to be engaged into the research. And this is excellent start for their career, that even at university studies, they can have research results which are comparable with PhD students.
This is a very cool opportunity also for them, and it shows their excellence that they can, at this level, already kind of provide very, very good research results as well. During all this time, being a mentor, being a participant, what was the most challenging, maybe also the most emotional event since you have been part of this Chemistry Olympiad community?
Each year at IChO, the most emotional moment for us is medal ceremony, where we know the results of our students, but we know just number of points they get, but know their ranking. And it's real pleasure and if all our students get a medal. And in recent years, there are just few exceptions, but otherwise all our students got the medals. And so it's really some moment of satisfaction to join the awarding with the students. But if you're asking about the most emotional event, of course, it was the anniversary 50th International Chemistry Olympiad when I was co-president with a Czech colleague. So when we organized this IChO together, Slovakia and Czech Republic, and it was for the first time when it was organized by two countries. It was this IChO was even one day longer, so students have and also mentors a possibility to get in touch with both countries. And we were lucky to get sufficient freedom to organize it. So we could do it with the best of our hearts. I mean, yeah, it's really different if you do something because it's your duty or because you really like or love to do it. And there was an underlying motto for the Olympiad that never forget to have fun. And I guess we managed to transform it to that IChO. And okay, it's not on me to judge, but you can ask other mentors or students that it was really very successful Olympiad.
That's great to hear. I would say that sounds a little bit like also the answer to my actual next question, which was your favorite moment, but I kind of assume that it's actually this Olympiad that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
How was this from an organizational side to do it in two countries, actually? Because yes, in Europe, countries are a bit smaller than in other places on the world, but still the distance between Bratislava, for example, and Prague is not exactly short. How did you manage to get both countries involved and to be able to experience both countries?
Okay, so idea to organize it together started like 5 years in advance, and with idea to bring the International Chemistry Olympiad to the place when it was born. Maybe you might know that the first Chemistry Olympiad was held in Prague in former Czechoslovakia. So at the time there were two countries, and especially last 2 years before Olympiad, there was a hard work of organizing teams and scientific teams from both countries. And the first it was possible because for small countries not that easy to get sufficient funding. So if both governments promised to contribute, so we were able to get enough money. And another condition was that as the Slovakia and Czech Republic were formerly one country, we still keep very close friendships and cultural understanding or traditions. And of course, it was also important that with my colleague from Prague, the chairman of Czech Chemistry Olympiad, we are very good friends. So make the things work much better. Then for organization, we meet like at least each month, either in Bratislava or in Prague, to continue with preparation of all organization and scientific event. And we could use former Chemistry Olympiad participants to help us with organization. So we have really large group of volunteers to help us, and this made it possible.
Okay. This is also very interesting, like having it started in Czechoslovakia at the time, and then it's returning for the 50th anniversary. What would you say overall this time, also having been involved, was kind of the major changes from its first start to how the Olympiad is done today, and whether you think these changes are positive or not?
I do not see dramatical changes in the basic idea. I mean that to support talented students, to have possibility of that international contacts of young people, so as a participants, but also of the mentors, it's really a great added value of that IChO. So even some computer tools are evolving. There is some instrumentation coming to the Olympiad. So there are some chemistry Olympiad, and it's expected to be also this year, where the students will work on computers in addition to process data from experiments and so on. But it's not such a big change. I mean, most important is that human contact. This keeps this Olympiad running. It we'll have 57th International Chemistry Olympiad this year.
But I also imagine that now, if you get more and more instrumentation in form of computers, etc., that it's also logistically a bit more challenging to get all the infrastructure, because you mentioned earlier that it's about 90 countries. If you have 4 students from 90 countries, you need kind of a lot of computers. You also need to make sure that they cannot be used to basically cheat with the internet. How do you go about organizing all of this? Because seems like a huge effort.
Now the number of students is approaching 350, and you need to have equal conditions to them to make the competition fair. you cannot really exclude any attempts of cheating, but we ask students and understand also from mentors. So we try to really make the conditions to exclude cheating, but also, you can't have a pleasure from the results when it's not result of the fair competition. So we also rely on the honesty of participants and mentors, because the communication tools now has developed very efficiently. So without real honesty of everyone, it wouldn't be possible to keep it fair. Okay, but concerning logistic, it's not definitely not easy. We organized it in 2018 with 80 countries and exactly 300 students. So it's almost the situation which is now. We first reconstructed labs in the way that we have really the same working place for every student. Then ordered new equipment for students to again have the same new equipment. But then we were lucky to distribute this equipment to high schools, which is now used for preparing of young students for Chemistry Olympiad. So gave this additional benefit for them. The labs at our university are not so large, so there were from 12 to 20 students in each lab, distributed all around the faculty. So we had at least 3 people responsible for that experimental part, which know well each task. So, and it was also important to test the tasks in order the results wouldn't affected by conditions at particular lab. And for instance, in each lab, there were in addition our student who did the control experiment with the same samples and at the same time and the same conditions to really see what should be the results. So really to have a standard.
I really like the fact that you kind of could cycle back all of this equipment to the high schools and then again help train the next generation. I mean, from my side, this was a really, really lovely talk. I really appreciate the insights that you could give us. And I would also like to thank you from the chemistry community because the effort you put is huge. And also, you are very, very successful because I just thought back a little bit on what you said. You said that you managed basically for almost all the years in the last couple of years that all of your students actually got a medal, which means that they outcompeted quite a bunch of other people from different countries, which is also a huge success on the mentor side. And this means that you must have really put a lot of effort in training these students and helping them learn all of the things that you said, because they are basically fully graduated bachelor students after this Olympiad. And this is really fantastic, very, very impressive. And it really deserves a huge, huge thank you because this is really great. It's amazing for the chemistry community because we will have a lot of great new scientists among our ranks after all the effort you've put. And I would like to thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
And also, of course, for your time. And if you had any last tips, insights, curiosities, maybe to share.
I would again underline that chemistry is really very nice and interesting subject, and it can be done with passion, with love, with fun, and this is most important to spend our lives with the real sense. I mean, to really do something which makes us happy, which is useful in the same time.
Thank you. With that, I would say we'll wrap it up here, also for time's sake, because there's someone waiting in front of your door.
Okay.
And I really want to thank you for the time. It has been a pleasure.
Once again, a huge thank you to Professor Martin Putala for talking about his engagement with us today and sharing what it means to organize these great competitions every year. And of course, also a big thank you to Desiree for hosting this fascinating discussion. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Chemistry to Your Ears, and maybe this has even sparked you to get in touch with local schools and motivate them to engage in their own Chemistry Olympiads. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to share it and follow us for more exciting episodes around all things chemistry. Until next time!